Yeah, baby.
All right, mountains.
Just
Look
wait
at
for
that
this music
scenery
to
in
hit.
the background.
We'll wait for the music to hit, and boom, there we are. What is up, fight fans? Welcome to MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 269. This night is finally here. We've been waiting for so long. I've been waiting for so long. I'm about to explain to you why in just a minute. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. We got my man, Jeff Cain, surviving tornadoes. Jeff Cain is tornado-proof. Jeff, before we even get started, Jeff, I have to ask you, make sure you and your family are doing all right, Jeff.
Yeah,
Everything
my
that
family.
happened with tornadoes, it's been a tough week for you guys in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's probably the worst storm that's ever hit Kentucky. Yeah, look, we're one of the poorest states in the country, and a lot of people just lost everything 2 weeks before Christmas. You know, it's not a great time. But my family and everybody are safe, and so that's good. But a lot of people aren't, man. A lot of people aren't.
No, and it's a tough time, and it's good to have a diversion like UFC 269. I mean, it's tough to even get Christmas presents delivered right now this time of year, and it's holiday season. Hope you all are enjoying it as much as you can. We're going to do our best tonight to present these fights to you and to have some fun with you like only we know how to do here on MMA Weekly, the most trusted source in news and entertainment and mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. Our man Scott Peterson, boots on the ground in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena for this huge card. Charles Dubronx Oliveira, 31-8-1. Dustin the Diamond Poirier, 28-6-1 for Oliveira's lightweight championship. Right now, the first fight of the night on the main card is underway with Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on Raulian Paiva, who just beat his teammate last time out, by the way, Kyler Phillips, the Matrix. O'Malley and trainers and everything together at the MMA lab in Glendale, Arizona. And we are waiting very patiently for the one and only Dominick Cruz, who picked up another unanimous decision win tonight, 29-28 on all three scorecards over Pedro Munoz. Dominick Cruz, even though not even the main event on the undercard, Jeff, the co-main on the prelims, but vintage Dominick Cruz tonight. We're waiting for him to hit the podium. And then a very good fight after that with Josh Emmett defeating Dan Ige in the main event on the prelims. Both unanimous decisions, 29-28. For all three judges, except for one judge in the featherweight battle between Emmett and Ige, had it 30-27. But two great fights, Cruz and Munoz, Emmett and Ige, to set the table for the main card. And O'Malley and Paiva going at it in the octagon right now. O'Malley trying to stick and move and use the kickboxing. Paiva, of course, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, trying to use that to maybe set up some takedowns and use the takedowns to set up some punches and combos and kicks. And so far, it's about even. Not a whole lot of action between O'Malley and Paiva. About 3 minutes left in round number one.
Yeah, just getting back to that Dominick Cruz fight. I mean, for those that don't know, I have the write-up over on MMAWeekly.com, but Cruz got dropped twice in the first round, and came back and dominated the second round. And then, I mean, he didn't dominate the third round quite as much as he did the second, but he clearly won the third round. Crazy performance from Dominick Cruz. I mean, and when I say he got knocked down, he got face planted. I mean, he was in a lot of trouble.
Right.
And then bounced back, man. It was a crazy fight.
Dominick Cruz always seems to find a way to win. I mean, for the most part, and he's getting older. He's a little bit, past his prime, and I would never rule him out. I mean, he's one of those legends in that 35 division. We just saw a great performance last week from Jose Aldo, one this week from Dominick Cruz. Man, don't put the old guys out the pasture yet, Jeff. Those guys aren't done. Aldo and Cruz are not done at bantamweight.
Yeah, and Cruz still has, and we saw it with Aldo too. Cruz still has speed. And as long as he's able to maintain that for the next couple of years or whatever, man, he could absolutely make another run at a title. And same with Aldo in that division. I feel like Aldo's comfortable in that division now. He maintained his speed in that last fight. Both of those veterans aren't ready to go just yet, Jim. They're not ready to. They're going to have to be forced out of the sport.
No, and speaking of veterans, we've got some of the best in the game tonight with Oliveira and Poirier and Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. Cody Garbrandt looks great, made the weigh-in with no problem, made the weight at 125 to take on Kai Kara France, and then O'Malley and Paiva kicking it off right now. There's Dustin the Diamond Poirier. This is what a lot of people in the sport are considering to be his coronation tonight. He tried it against Khabib, actually had Khabib in more trouble than anybody did in any fight Khabib fought in the UFC, but eventually was submitted by Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. But, he's won 8 out of 9 fights. The no contest with Eddie Alvarez from the knees in there as well. And it was Alvarez who threw the illegal knees, not Poirier, if you remember. But the only guy to beat Poirier in any realm of whatever remembrance of any kind of semblance of anything we can remember is Khabib Nurmagomedov, because he's beaten everybody else in his way since then. Both these guys were 45ers who fight at 55 now. The resurgence of Charles Oliveira has been an incredible story, Jeff, and I can't wait to break this one down. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Sugar Sean O'Malley, because this fight could end at any time, and we got 40 seconds left in round number 1, and they're throwing some haymakers at each other in that cage. The guy's not even in the top 15, and he said it this week, name me another millionaire, and he just dropped Paiva with a big right hand. I mean, a big one. He's got 30 seconds to finish the job. He just crushed him again. Oh, Paiva's down. O'Malley could get the finish here, Jeff. He is crushing him up against the cage right now. Sugar Sean putting on a punching clinic. There it is. Done. Just like that, Sean O'Malley gets the first round finish, the TKO, and what a job by Sean O'Malley, man. You can say what you want about this kid, but he is electrifying in the octagon.
Yeah, I mean, he might get ranked now at 15. Probably no higher than that. Yeah, O'Malley's a strange cat, man. He puts himself, I think a lot of the criticism he does to himself. If he would just keep his mouth shut, the UFC is going to make the matchups, and they're going to take the brunt of the criticisms if you just keep your mouth shut. But he kind of invites criticism, and then the stuff saying that he's undefeated and everything. O'Malley's a talented guy, man. He's got length in that division. He's got fast hands, and he's got punching power. Yeah, O'Malley, props on him tonight, man. He's probably going to have to rename that brand, the unranked champ. He's going to be ranked after this.
He's going to be ranked. And I mean, if you see these combinations, guys, ladies and gentlemen, the combinations of punches, right hook, side of the face, left hand to the body, right hook, side of the face, coming back with a left hook, uppercuts landing in there. I mean, just an absolute clinic of striking from Sean O'Malley. They did have a little bit of an advantage with his teammates at the MMA lab that Kyler Phillips just fought this guy. And Kyler Phillips, if you remember, that was a very, very close fight. But Sean O'Malley is no joke, man. Like, he can say he's unranked all he wants, and people can talk about that. And Dana White can say he's not ready for a guy like Cody Garbrandt or any big-time opponent. Sean O'Malley is not that far off. He had the injury against Chito Vera, and that's pretty much it. Sean O'Malley has been a destructive force in the octagon. He's a huge star outside of it on Twitch, on YouTube, his podcast, The Sugar Sean. I mean, he is legitimately a media superstar who is a big-time crossover star in the making if he ever puts it all together and can fight at a championship level. This guy's going to make himself and everyone who comes near him a ton of money.
Dominic Cruz should be calling him out right now. And I know that Dominic doesn't want to fight a 15th ranked fighter, but I think that he jumps up in the rankings with that win just because of the hype of O'Malley. And it might be a good time to catch O'Malley. You know what I mean? If I'm Dominic Cruz, I take that fight. That could be a main event on a fight night card for sure. And that's definitely a main card fight on a pay-per-view.
It is. And Dominic Cruz will probably go to 7 because Cody Garbrandt's fighting at 25 tonight. He's ranked 7th.
Yeah, it's a drop for
8th.
Dominic to do it.
So maybe Dominic will be at 7, but O'Malley might pass Stamann and Yadong and Frankie Edgar and Asuncao. He might end up at 12 or 11. That's not that much of a reach.
Yeah,
7 versus 11 or 12 is not too much of a reach for Cruz. I think you're
it
onto
depends.
something there. And they've gone back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's said
O'Malley called him out.
Pre-fight press conference. Yeah, O'Malley, and he told Garbrandt that you're one loss away from being Dominic Cruz in the commentator booth. I mean, he's made a lot of digs at Dominic Cruz, and I'm just saying that stylistically, that's a very interesting fight. And for Cruz, it might be a good time to take out a young lion. I think the UFC would probably reward him with that. And I think people on the ranking panel do too. Sometimes hype means more than ranking sometimes.
It really does. And O'Malley had an injured rib in his training camp. He fought through that. I mean, you got to give this kid, he couldn't grapple, and he's going to face a jiu-jitsu black belt. He had to come in and win with his striking, and he gets the job done. That's what fighters do. That's what real champion fighters do. They figure out a way. I mean, just reaching out with the jab and touching them, boom, putting it through, splitting the guard whenever he wanted with the jab. And then, he feints the jab, and then the hands come in closer for Paiva, and then he comes around with a right hook and just blasts him. I mean, that's just high-level stuff, Jeff. I mean, you don't see too many UFC fighters who can box like Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I mean, he landed that huge right hand, and then everything after that was nice. It was crisp, like you said, but they're landing because he had him hurt. But yeah, man, I mean, he does a good job. He uses his reach well, and we saw Cruz do that tonight. in round where it's hard to, come into play whenever you can't get the fight to the ground. And that's what O'Malley does to you when he's on and his footwork. And the same with Cruz. And I don't think their styles are anything similar to each other than they use a hell of a lot of movement and they kick outside at the end of their punches. It's not a lot of people do that, to be honest with you.
But two of the most technical strikers you'd ever see. Cruz, very technical in the octagon with everything he does, as you know, and O'Malley with the striking. But the Sugar Show kicks it off on UFC 269. Sean O'Malley knows how to get the party started, man. And we've got a big night of fights here on MMA Weekly. That's Jeff Cain. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Make sure you smash that subscribe. You know when we have more programming and content coming your way. Get involved in the chat. Hit that like. We got a lot of people in the chat tonight. Where are you guys watching us from? Let us know. We'll do a little roll call. And I keep going from tungsten to cool, on my lighting. Sorry about that, guys. That just means the screens I'm flipping back and forth from and to and from on the internet are white and black. White. So here's black. You ready? And there's white. And there's black. And there's white. See? So there you go. That's what I'm doing right now. In case you're wondering why my face keeps changing colors. They got Tommy Lee in the house in Vegas tonight. Vegas is back to being Vegas for a fight week. But, Jeff, we've got some really big fights on this card tonight, man. And I'm pumped to see what Cody Garbrandt looks like at flyweight, because if he brings any semblance of the power that he had at 35 with that speed, and he made weight easily with no issues that we know of, looked healthy doing it. John Anik was making that point yesterday, and I agreed with him, man. Cody Garbrandt didn't have any trouble like his former friend and former opponent TJ Dillashaw did when he fought Cejudo, but no trouble for Cody. He could be a big problem in that division. And let's be honest, man, flyweight doesn't have that many fighters in the title mix for Brandon Moreno. He's fighting Figueiredo for the third time, even though he's beaten him twice. So Cody Garbrandt could get a very shot at 125, especially if he can come out and just destroy Kai Kara France tonight. But Kai Kara France is a really good fighter. I can't wait for this one coming up next.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because I feel like Kara France, if he beats Cody because Cody's unranked, then he doesn't move that up that far. But if Cody comes out and wins, being a former champion and it looks impressive, then he could jump right into a title shot, right into a title picture. And so it's kind of weird the way I feel like this matchup is. I feel like Cody has a lot to gain, and Kara France has a lot to gain, but he's not going to get a title fight, I don't feel like, in his next fight. With a win tonight, but we'll see. You never know, because like you said, there's not a lot of people lined up there to fight for the title. So who knows? Kara France believes this is a title elimination bout, though.
Yeah, and he's lost to Brandon Royval, and he's lost to Brandon Moreno. So the two Brandons who are in, Moreno's the champion. Obviously, he's fighting Figueiredo against us. Du Bronx, Charles Oliveira walking into the arena with the glasses and the frosted blonde hair. Oliveira has been a devastating force at 155. I have not yet insulted him or said that he doesn't deserve to be champion. I've been trying to be good about this. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But Figueiredo and, of course, Moreno are coming up on the Ngannou and Gon card January 22nd in Anaheim, California, when the big boys throw down to unify the heavyweight division that should never have to be unified anyway, because there should be no interim title. But don't get me started on that again. They just kind of do it whenever they want. But I look at 125, Jeff, just as a final thought there with this fight coming up. Royval is a pretty good fighter. Pantoja at number 3. I think Askarov should be next for a title shot for the winner of this next one. But Cody could jump in there because Askarov doesn't have a name. Askarov has beaten everybody lately. His wrestling's phenomenal. He's been putting it all together. As you see, Poirier walking in there too for this fight tonight. But I really like Askarov a lot. But then when you're looking at the Pantojas and Royvals and Kai Kara France at number 6, if Figueiredo loses again, who knows what's going to happen with him? He's training out here with Henry Cejudo at Fight Ready. But Cody Garbrandt with 2 wins would get a title shot. I don't think he gets one with a win tonight, but I think 2 wins puts him there. What do you think?
It just depends on it depends on how he looks tonight. I mean, if he goes out here and flattens him in 30 seconds, then maybe you do give him a title fight,
Yeah, maybe.
It's gonna be up to the UFC, because at the end of the day, Cody Garbrandt's the biggest name in that division, even over the champion. And so now that he's in that division, if he can put together 1 win, I agree. Ideally, I think it should take him 2 wins. But I also have been around long enough to know that if he looks good tonight, considering he's a former champion and his name, a title fight tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. And he is a former champion. He's got a lot of big time knockouts on his resume. I like that little crawl across the bottom. Do you see that with Scott Peterson? I like it. Subscribe right across the bottom. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. We want to get to 1 million on YouTube, guys. We want to hit it up on every platform. Smash, look at Scott, smash that like button coming right across the bottom of the screen. I love it. I can't wait anymore, Jeff. And I know we got Cody and Kai Kara France coming up, but I can't wait anymore to talk about Oliveira and Poirier because I've been dying for this fight. I've been dying to see anytime Amanda Nunes gets in there. It's like seeing Michael Jordan. It's like seeing Wayne Gretzky. It's like seeing LeBron James. It's like seeing Tom Brady. She's at that point now. Amanda Nunes has reached that status. She crushed Cyborg, crushed Ronda, crushed Misha, every Holly Holm, every single woman in her way in 2 divisions, beat Valentina twice. I mean, she's the female GOAT. And the reason why everybody has to watch every single Amanda Nunes fight is because eventually you would think someone's going to beat her. And you never know when that's going to be. Juliana Pena thinks that's going to be her. She's going back to years ago in the press conferences. But you never know when that's going to happen. You never know if and when. So you have to watch every Amanda Nunes fight because you don't know. And I'm just excited to see that. And anytime she fights, it's must-see TV. And then, Ponzo Bibio and Jeff Neal, that's a really good co-main. So, but I think I just want to get your thoughts on Amanda real quick before we get to Oliveira and Poirier. But she's about as legendary a fighter as we've ever seen in the sport. And she's must-see TV every time. The power she possesses, the way she puts it all together, the way she's beaten everybody in her path, and not just beating them. I mean, what she did to Cyborg was inhuman. Nobody's done that to Cyborg, but Amanda Nunes has. And man, her highlight reel is probably the best one I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, Amanda's the top of the food chain right now. I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made that Valentina is the GOAT because she didn't stumble. Like, you look at Amanda's early career, it wasn't impressive, and then she, found her groove and has dominated everybody since, where Valentina didn't suffer those losses early in her career. It's hard to say, man. But yeah, as far as pound for pound fighter in the world, man, that's Amanda Nunes. That's nobody else. The wins over Valentina ensure that. But the GOAT conversation is totally different conversation in my opinion. But yeah, tonight,
you're right, and they did.
It's Amanda's hard,
but it was
hard to read it. Go ahead. I'm breaking up.
I think we were breaking up a little bit, and we didn't know that we're lagging a little bit. But go ahead, Jeff. I got you pretty clear now. What were you saying?
I was just saying that as far as Amanda, if she does what she normally does, tonight's not going to be a tough fight for her. I would just be careful with Pena if the fight hits the ground, because Pena does have good submissions, and I think that's where she fares the best in this fight, because she's not going to have a chance in hell on the feet against Amanda. But like you said, you never know, man. This is the fight game. It's weird how it happens. It's the Buster Douglas that beats Tyson. It's the Matt Serra that beats George St. Pierre. It's the Chris Weidman that beats Anderson Silva. It's not always the person you think it's going to be.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. And it's crazy too when you think about it, man. Amanda Nunes has only lost once in the UFC, and it was to Kat Zingano at UFC 178. Yeah. It was her second or third UFC fight, but she did lose in Invicta to Sarah D'Aleo and then to Alexis Davis in Strikeforce. But the crazy thing about Amanda Nunes, which is why you can never quit and never give up on yourself, she lost her first fight, Jeff, her first professional fight in 2008 by submission, armbar, to a girl named Anna Maria, right? In 35 seconds of round number 1. Amanda Nunes lost her first pro fight at the 35-second mark of round number 1, got submitted. It's unbelievable to think she came from that to where she is now. There's got to be a movie. I mean, look, we got the Kurt Warner movie coming out, right? Why not the Amanda Nunes movie one day?
Yeah. And then those other losses mainly were conditioning. If I'm looking back, if my memory is correct, she just fatigued. I mean, not Zingano. Zingano beat her, but the other Invicta losses, I felt like she just tired in those fights, and she got it all together, man. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. I think that Amanda Nunes, because of her dominance recently, she's been so dominant that we kind of forget that she is sort of also the Poirier and also the Oliveira story. It wasn't always an easy road, as you pointed out. She lost in 35 seconds in her first fight.
Right. You're right. And that's the thing I like about Poirier and Oliveira too, is neither one of them have taken the easy road. They've both been through a lot of crap along the way in their careers to get where they are right now. And you have to respect that, man. But I think Amanda Nunes gets it done tonight. I like Juliana Pena. I really do. But she's just the next victim. And she said Amanda's been fighting cans. I mean, if you want to call Cyborg and Holly Holm and Jermaine Durandamy and Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson cans, I mean, I don't know who else she could fight other than Kayla Harrison, who's her teammate and friend, who's a free agent. But I think that Amanda Nunes has reached that point where she just doesn't have competition. There's nobody out there for her. And Dana White said this week he doesn't know if anybody would want to see her fight Valentina again. I know you would love to see that fight, as would I. But I think Dana's just kind of taking everybody's temperature with a comment like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable. But the reason why I think it's inevitable is because Valentina is so dominant in her division. I don't see anybody beating her. And Amanda's so dominant at 135. I don't see anybody beating her. And so eventually I feel like they're going to be the last two women standing again and going to have to fight a third time. And both of those fights were extremely close. I think Amanda won the first one. I scored Valentina winning the second one. The judges didn't see it that way, but that's how competitive those fights were.
Though. Yeah, the second one was a split, razor thin.
Yeah. I mean, that Valentina's the one that been able to roll over. You know, she's rolled over everybody else. And then Valentina, it's just styles make fights, man. Valentina is elusive. She's fast. She's accurate, precision striker, and she has great wrestling. She mixes it up. And so she keeps Amanda on her toes, and Amanda can't plant on those punches or she's going to get taken down. It's a different dynamic for Amanda. Tonight, I don't think she has to worry too much about anything unless the fight gets to the ground and she's on the bottom. I think if she's on top, she's just going to pound out Pena. On the feet, I think she's going to knock out Pena. I don't think she has to worry about if somehow she gets on the bottom. Pena does have good submissions.
And Pena's very strong. She's a very strong girl, and that's something that Amanda's done really well against them. But this fight's about to start with Kai Kara France and Cody Garbrandt. But, you know, when you look at Pena, she lost to Jermaine Durandamy. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko. I just want to point out, too, and we say it all the time, but Amanda's wins over Valentina were at 135, and Valentina's a 125er. Yeah. She's not a 135er at all. She was fighting up in weight. No. So that definitely has, and especially in close fights, that makes a difference. But just looking at Amanda Nunes before we get into the main event, I mean, you look at Sarah McMahon, Valentina, Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey, Valentina again, Raquel Pennington, Chris Cyborg, Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy, Felicia Spencer, Megan Anderson. I mean, that's like King Carl Hubble, if you guys are old school baseball fans, in the 1920s, striking out Babe Ruth and Jimmy Fox and Lou Gehrig and all those guys in a row in the All-Star game. It's crazy, man, to see what she's done. I see the podium.
That's a reference. I can't believe. I bet like a tenth of the audience even realized that reference you just made. Awesome reference, though, Jim. By the way, that's an old school. It just literally came from my Grampy. I love you, Grampy. Yeah. That came from him when we were kids, man. Teaching me the history of baseball. That's where that came from. But that was an awesome reference, man. That's my. Yeah, we've been doing this about a year together. I think that's my favorite freaking reference you've thrown out. I mean, that was obscure, old school, and I was like, hell yeah.
How about Tom Brady taking out Manning and Rivers and all those guys back to back in the playoffs that one year? Maybe that's a little more current for these guys.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Brady, man. But, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this fight. I want to see how Cody looks because I think Cody, in his first fight back, because he was supposed to make his debut here and he took the fight with Font, but he had a very bad bout with COVID that people don't talk enough about him. He had a very bad bout with COVID, had blood clots and you know, he had kidney infection. He went through a lot, and I felt like he didn't look sharp in the Rob Font fight. So we're going to see him tonight and see what happened, how he looks, you know.
And he's such an intense, fiery competitor. He comes out blazing every fight. He's throwing hands. He's not the guy who waits for the action to come to him. You know, Kara France is a pretty good fighter in and of his own right, but Cody's going to bring the dynamite. He's a tremendous boxer. I mean, when we saw that walk-off knockout in 2020 in one of the COVID fights at the Apex, and when he just completely – whose lights did he turn out? I'm trying to remember now.
It was
Sun Tzu, yeah.
he threw that punch from his ankle.
from his ankle, but he had lost 3 in a row coming in after being 11-0 and dominating Dominic Cruz. I was at that fight. Cody just dropped down and tried a foot sweep. Pretty dope, but he lost 3 in a row. Dillashaw, Munoz was actually winning all 3 of those fights. And then Rob Font, he lost to as well. And it looks like we have somebody at the podium. This is a victorious Josh Emmett, unanimous decision over Dan Ige, featherweight matchup in the headliner of the prelims. Here's Josh Emmett, battered and bruised, but victorious. He's at the Apex on MMA.
Congratulations. Welcome back to the post-fight press conferences. What are your initial thoughts after a wild fight like that?
It's good to be back. You know, I told you guys I'd see you on Saturday. Yes, it is good to be back. It's kind of funny just because Dan and I both thought it was going to be like the craziest barn burner. Dana did. The entire world thought that, and I think it was just Dan and I respected each other so much and the power, so it just kind of turned into more of a technical fight, and we just kind of stayed behind the jab. Yeah, but I'm happy to be back. I'm grateful for the UFC, Dana, Sean, Mick, and you guys.
Kind of going off in that, it did after a while. Eventually we just kind of had accepted like this is going to be. I mean, it's not going to be the fight that everyone expected. In your mind, at one point, were you watching, and were you all of a sudden like just knocked down?
Oh, sorry.
Was there a point in the fight where you're like, all right, I have to change gears now. This is not what we were planned for.
Yeah, I was. You know, I was trying to fill him out for a little while, and then I caught him with a big shot. And typically, like I knew I landed that hard, so I was surprised how fast he recovered while we were down there. You know, I was on top of him, and his grip, he was holding me so tight, and I really couldn't, break free of that to go in for the finish. And then he just recovered, and like you were saying, I did have to. My coaches, they were telling me in the corner, just kind of turn it up. And just make sure we win the round. And instead of loading up for power, I just needed to kind of use my speed and stay behind the jab and keep my hands up and just win the fight.
Going off of that, too, we saw the corner cam kind of say,
fuck, I'm sorry. No way.
Going off of that, we heard your corner say, kind of, don't look for the knockout. He's scared of the right hand. Did you kind of have to pull back a little bit going into that final round and not looking for that haymaker?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's a problem that I have. And my boxing coach Joey always tells me, once I land a hard shot, then I continue to try to throw those and land those. So I just needed to listen to them and just like they were saying, just work on speed and just kind of get inside and touch him. And the power is always there.
And finally, after such a long layoff, how many fights are you looking to get into in 2022?
Man,
Are we back on? I think we're back on.
I think we are back on. Something happened in the fight that I didn't see yet.
Cody Garbrandt just got effed up in the worst. I mean, he got dropped twice, crushed across the eye, and he was able to duck under a punch and get a takedown and get his back for a second. But then France just lit him up again. I mean, he hit him with about 7 or 8 devastating power shots, and Kai Kara France just ended Cody Garbrandt at 125. It was one of the most violent finishes I've seen in a long time. And man, what a performance. I mean, Kai Kara France City kickboxing guy with Izzy and Eugene Behrman, the coach, and of course, Hooker and all those guys, man, and Volkanovski. But I mean, Jeff, they're taking us through the replay right now, the feint and just a crushing right hand that knocked Cody straight down on his back. Cody stood up. He's still reeling, and then a big right hand that sends him back all the way into the cage, and he falls. And those were just the first two. The end came a couple minutes later.
Yeah, I saw the first knockdown. I'm waiting for the second one. And
Oh, yeah, you're getting it now. Look at this. I mean, 5, 6 shots, bang. Just all clean, all hard, all power. I mean, just wow.
I don't know. First of all, awesome win. I don't know where Cody goes from here, Jim. I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here.
Not anywhere near a title shot, and he's a former champion. But I mean, this game is unforgiving. I did not expect to see this. I honestly thought Cody would win this fight, but Kai Kara France took control of the octagon from the beginning. He took the center. He had Cody going backward. And, this is something Cody's going to have to deal with, man. We've seen guys come back from numerous tough losses. Look, both guys in the main event tonight have done it. So it's not the end of the line ever for a fighter. They can always come back and make something happen. especially a guy like Cody Garbrandt. I mean, but you got to think, man, this guy started 11-0. He started on fire. He dominated the greatest champion in the history of this division, made Dominic Cruz look like he had no chance. I mean, he made him look silly in that fight. Never in a million years would anybody have thought Cody Garbrandt's career would take the turn that it has, Jeff. I mean, it's just almost unbelievable.
Yeah. And look, what happened is Cody threw a leg kick and dropped his hands and Kai France, countered with a huge right hand right down the middle. And that's what started all of that. Look, I would like to see Cody back at 135 because I felt like, man, yeah, you had losses, but they were to the top of that division and you had some medical issues. I always worry when people go from 135 to 125 because of the speed. Speed kills. And how much strength do you actually carry from 135 to 125? And so it just always worries me when I see people do that. Because I'll take speed over power any day of the week, right? That's just especially in those lighter divisions where you're constantly moving and speed means so much. So I would like to see Cody go back, man. Go back and hit the. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel bad. It's a former champion, and Cody's a likable guy, But
yeah,
he's facing some tough choices now. I mean, do you change camps after this many losses? I mean, what do you do? Cody's got a lot of decisions to make right now.
Cody's been training. He just was training with, wasn't he just training with Frankie Edgar? Yeah, he was. He's with Mark Henry and Frankie Edgar and those guys. And Frankie's dropping in the rankings. Man, what an unforgiving sport. This game, I mean, he took some big shots. I mean, Dillashaw back-to-back, Munoz, he had moments in those fights where he was winning, where he had hurt Dillashaw, where he had hurt Munoz. All three of those fights. The Font fight, he went the distance, 5-minute rounds, man. It was a unanimous decision, but he went the distance, and you thought after the Asuncao fight. But, I think you made a great point, Jeff. Just to go down a weight class, you don't realize the difference in speed, man. I mean, it is night and day from 35 to 25. And that makes what a guy like Cejudo was able to do even more incredible. Shows you how tough it was for Dillashaw to go down there. I mean, it's just not an easy thing to do, man. Those guys are so fast. Moreno and Figueiredo are I mean, you see, and with Kai Kara France, he's a kickboxer, man. He's a bad match for Cody because he's a kickboxer and an elite kickboxer. But with Cody Garbrandt, man, I just don't know if he has a home at the top of any division. He's a fighter. He's going to make some money. He's going to go around. He's going to draw some fans. But is he going to contend again? I don't know what he has to do to get back there. He's a devastating boxer, never really developed all that much of a ground game that we could see. And maybe that's an unfair statement, but we haven't really seen it. So, you can't just win in the UFC as a boxer. And I want to add one more thing, and I don't want to kick him when he's down, but it's going to sound like I am, but I'm just going to say it. That fight against Dominic Cruz was when he was with Team Alpha Male, right? His last one, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The fight against Dominic Cruz was Team Alpha Male's 478,999th opportunity against Dominic Cruz. So if they haven't figured him out by that point, I think Cody really did benefit from how the number of fights that Team Alpha Male had to prepare to beat Dominic Cruz. That was a big part of how he won that fight. But his style was also perfect for Cruz with the boxing.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I think his style.
And he had TJ twice. I mean, he had TJ twice, man. He actually had him twice. And I remember that first fight in Madison Square Garden. He had TJ. He had TJ so badly hurt at the end of the first round, and TJ was saved by the horn in that one.
Yeah, what I don't like about this loss is what you just brought up, man. In the Dillashaw fights, Cody were in those fights and he got crazy, right? He got emotional and he put the pedal down and got clipped, right? That's not what happened tonight. That's not what happened tonight. Tonight he got beat. He was not getting wild. He just got beat with a straight right hand and follow-up shots. He just got beat. And that's something, there's no excuse for tonight. Like I said, the other fights I can say, man, and we everybody said it about Cody. Cody fights with too much emotion. He puts himself in bad spots. That didn't happen tonight. He just got beat.
Didn't happen against Font either.
Yeah, but that went the distance. And Cody had some moments in that fight. He had no moments tonight. He had no moments.
Nothing. He had nothing tonight. And you wonder, man. And you wonder how much the COVID affected him. But I think more than anything, man, the level of talent and the way that fighters are able to mix all the elements of MMA together, it just keeps getting better, man. You're not winning anything if you're a one-dimensional fighter in the UFC right now. And I don't care if you're Francis Ngannou. I'll say it right now. He better be ready for Ciryl Gane in more ways than just striking, or he's not winning that fight. I'll say it now. He better have takedown defense ready. He better be okay in the clinch against Ciryl Gane, because that one-hit walk-off power that has taken him so far. And I know that Extreme Couture, they do a lot with him with grappling and wrestling and takedown defense, and he's a mountain at 265. But you're not winning in the UFC right now if you're one-dimensional. There's no chance in hell.
No, I mean not for the most part. You know, you have to be so overwhelmingly good. No, I mean, no, you're just not. I mean, the people. I mean, we've seen it. You can do it. But you have to be so good, and it's the striker that does it, right? I mean, like Conor McGregor's not the most well-rounded fighter in the world, but what he was so good at, you couldn't overcome. But he's not a one-dimensional fighter either. And I know what you're saying. You can't just be a boxer. Conor's not just a boxer. He's more of a boxer, kickboxer who sometimes will, clinch and work in the clinch, right. And he has great elbows in the clinch. So I'm not saying that he's one-dimensional. That's not what I mean. But it was his one dimension that got him all the way to the top, man. And then, but like you said, it's hard to stay there. You can't stay there. You might be able to get there, but you can't stay there. And I agree with you about Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou's size is going to make him hard to take down because you're just hitting a mountain, whenever you try to shoot in on him. But I think Gane can beat him possibly with just footwork and speed. But we'll see. We'll see, because Francis definitely gets really wide with his punches.
And you don't want to be, I mean, literally, you don't want to be on the receiving end of anything Francis Ngannou throws, even when he grazes you.
No.
He grazes you, you go to sleep. I mean, but Ciryl Gane's been tremendous at timing and getting in and out against guys like Rosenstruik and Derek Lewis, not allowing them to hit him. And getting in, scoring, getting out, getting in, scoring, getting out. Jab, little shot here, little shot there, get out. Yeah. And against Francis, who's much quicker than those guys and much more powerful than and he's much faster than Derek Lewis, than Rosenstruik, But I mean, I'm looking at so for example, you can't win one-dimensional. Oliveira was kind of a one-dimensional fighter early in his career. This is Dominic Cruz at the podium, winner by unanimous decision after getting dropped twice in the first round against Pedro Munoz. Right here on MX.
Well, Dom, right here. Congratulations on a victory. What are your initial thoughts after a performance like that against Pedro Munoz?
It just feels good to be back on a win streak, I guess. I had a couple fights that didn't go as well. My body just wasn't feeling in rhythm, and it feels good to be back in rhythm.
That first round, you got dropped twice. Was that just you were out of place, or was it this Pedro Munoz? Did Pedro Munoz do something that kind of threw you off in that first round?
From what I'm hearing from my corner, I hit my head on the ground after or something. I don't know. I haven't seen the fight, so if I'm being honest, I thought I just took him down. So last I know is he's on his back and I'm on top. So I guess the rest of it, I conveniently don't remember.
Then that second and third round, you kind of picked it back up. You're kind of hitting with a lot of jabs. He was connecting with pretty much air in there. So after that first round, did rounds 2 and 3 go pretty much how you had planned for that whole fight to go?
Yeah, I wanted the whole fight to be like rounds 2 and 3. Obviously, I generally have it that way, but I think he also knew that his power and everything that he has is the most dangerous in the first round. So I think his team played a good game plan. Is what I'm guessing. He came hard in the first, and he had good timing and good speed in the first. So I had to adjust a little to it. But once I got that timing and that speed, I adjusted well.
And I know you said you don't remember or you haven't seen it, but was there a moment where you had to kind of shake off the cobwebs after and kind of get your bearings back after being dropped twice?
Like I said, man, I just had him on his back.
And then I know you like to fight up. You want to fight in the rings, but Marlon Vera's already tweeted he wants to fight you. Pierre Yan says he wants to see you fight Jose Aldo. Are there any specific names above you? I know you don't really like fighting down, but are there any names above you that you would like to match up with next?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say no to an Aldo fight just because, that moves me closer to the title. Aldo's a legend in the sport. I have nothing but respect for all these guys. So I'm trying to go, I'm going up towards the title, and the champ's saying that too, and I'm not going to say no to anything. What I'm going to do is be present instead of in the future where there's absolutely no peace, and I would encourage everybody here to do the same. You have no control over the future. You have no control over the past, so I'm just going to stay right here on my win. One of the things that I remember from being a champion is after you win the belt and you come up with your title, media and everybody's telling you everybody that's going to beat you next or everybody that's next, and it's like we never as athletes get to enjoy the present moment, and media doesn't allow it because everybody wants to move to the future. So I'm going to stop you right there and say I'm enjoying tonight. I'm going to have some shots of tequila with my people and my family who suffered with me, and I won this for them, and fuck the future right now.
Did you happen to see Sean O'Malley's performance?
I saw a piece of it. I was trying to shower up. He's somebody that we need in the sport. He's bringing eyes. He's, Shelby, Dana said it himself, like, they're doing what they can with him to build him. I have respect for him for what he brings to the table, for the fan base he brings to the table. So kudos to him. He faced somebody that he knocked out. He's knocked out his last couple opponents. He follows through with what he's supposed to do.
Hey, Dominic, right here. Dominic, I've kind of replayed Wednesday quite a few times. When I asked you that question, my big one, did you actually mute Daniel Cormier's commentary, or were you just taking a jab at him and it got blown out of proportion in the last 72 hours?
So I didn't eat or drink when you guys asked me questions for like 3 days. We're all dieting, so we all do the best we can, except for Cormier. He never diets. But the truth is, like, I love Daniel Cormier. He is my brother. I work with him. I work alongside him. We are a team. He says I'm dry. I say I add a lot of seasoning, but I need him in order to be successful in that job. You can't just have a one-person booth. I need him. I need Joe Rogan. I need Michael Bisping. I need Felder. I need all of them. So if you make a headline, make sure you say Dominic Cruz needs the whole team.
Fair enough. I want to ask just a bit of symmetry. People talked about, a couple years ago, your fight with Cody. Recently this year, we see Joseph Benavidez retire. I'm sure you've seen the result. It did not go Cody's way tonight. And yet Dominic Cruz is still here, still going, still fighting top opponents. I mean, what's the secret? I mean, so some fighters, as you know, those injuries, they don't really come back and get to enjoy this kind of success.
That's a great question. I think if I'm going to, none of us know what's going to happen before these fights. None of us. Well, you can say whatever you want, but none of us know. So you just put in the work. I put in the rounds. I put in the work. And I showed up and I'm able to execute. It hasn't always gone my way. I've got 3 losses, so I learn a lot from my losses and I make adjustments. I think even my media, I'm speaking differently. I have a different view on this whole thing, this whole game after winning the title, losing the title, winning the title, losing the title. And then now they got me, down number 9 and just working my way back up the rankings. Like it's a humbling experience. Let go of the ego. Be a team with everybody. I need the whole division to be who I am. I look at and now as an analyst as well, I look at everybody as like teammates. It's different. I used to just see it as I'm going to kill every one of you, and now I see it as I need all of you to do anything. It's just a different frame of mind for me, and I think I've had to rebuild that through the injuries. Rebuild my mindset through the injuries that I've had and rebuild my mindset through the losses that I've had and learn along the way. But I don't know why other people haven't been successful. I haven't been part of their camps, but I know that Cody is a champion, obviously, in his heart and mind. I think he'll get back on track. He's still very young. Cutting down to 25 is, I don't even know how that's possible for him, but he made it work and he said it was easy. So I think he'll be fine. Just give the guy some time and let him find his bearings with his team or whatever he needs to find. I got nothing but faith in the guy. And as for Joseph Benavidez, he's a legend too. I love that guy. Like I said, I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. I had 8-round wars with that guy, and I have a cut on the bridge of my nose from him that I'll never forget. Things like that, they become a piece of your life forever.
If I'm late to the party with this, I apologize, but is there a particular reason why you like standing up during these things as opposed to everyone who likes to sit down?
I couldn't tell you why everybody sits down, but they should stand up because we're all standing up. We're all on our feet at the end of this thing. It's about self-respect and representation for me, and my foot hurts, and it's almost like, who cares? It's a me thing for my own mind, for my own spirit, whatever. I don't know. It's just me. The chair bothers me. It's like going out on crutches or going out in a wheelchair, even though your foot's broken or something hurts. I don't know. If I don't have to, I won't.
Congrats, Tom.
Thanks.
Dom, right here. Congrats, man. So this year, now that it's over for you, 2 fights in this year, 2 wins. It's the first time in 5 years that you've been able to get multiple fights in a year. And I wonder for you, what's that experience been like? Has it been helpful for you? I mean, you look back on it. Are you happy to be able to now rack these up?
I'm super happy to fight twice in a year. Are you kidding me? I think the reason why I'm ranked where I'm ranked is because I haven't been as active. Pedro Munoz is ranked above me because he's been more active than me. And, watching Dustin Poirier fight his 3rd title fight in a calendar year the guy's a monster. That's epic. There's a handful of MMA mixed martial arts champions who have fought 3 title fights in 1 calendar year. I have been one of them, but there's not a lot of us. Usman's another. There's more. But anybody who does that, I'm going to tell you right now, savages, because your body takes a beating in these camps, and they're all 5-round fights. So to be able to come in here and do two fights in a year, and then don't forget I'm working too. I'm working a full-time job while I compete at the highest level, and I'm also working a full-time job at the highest level. You know how hard it is to talk for 8 hours next to Daniel Cormier and Bisping and not say something stupid? It's hard. So you got to be sharp. You got to be present. There's a lot I'm trying to do here for the sport. I love this sport. I love the athletes in this sport. I want to represent them the best I can. I do it for them. I do it for my people. And I just feel grateful and blessed to be in the position to be able to have all this. I mean, I had a friend of mine that say, man, it's so cool. You get to do martial arts for a living. That's it. My friend Jimmy Harbison. And I'm like, you're right. That's pretty, wow. I'm running around, shadow boxing in the parking lot, stretching on an electric box, getting ready for a fight. And that's my job. What a trip.
And only other thing from me, if I'm not mistaken, this is now year 17 for you for this career.
Can you hold it a little closer? I can't hear you.
I got you. If I'm not mistaken, this is now year 17 for you in your career. 17 times you've walked to the cage in a non-title fight, and you've won all 17 of them. I just wonder for you, what is that record, 17-0 non-title fights? What does that mean to you?
I haven't really been keeping track of the stats because it's not done. I'm working on celebrating my my present moment and my victories more. It takes practice. A lot of us get our results and we just pass right by it like it's nothing. So that's part of why I'm trying to stay present and not move to the future like I've been saying. It's nothing personal. It's just it takes practice. It's not easy because I like to keep going. I like to create results. To be at that to break records the way I'm doing, to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm very grateful. I feel like there's a lot of luck mixed into it, but we make our own luck. When people say good luck, I say luck is for losers. But at the same time, I'll take it because, you need everything you can get in this sport. Look at these savages in my division. Look at everybody in this thing. Best in the world. These guys are the freakish athletes with a lot of humility. You can talk to any one of us. You try to talk to somebody who plays a game like football or basketball, you can't even look at them, or baseball. They won't even look at you half the time. I've done it. I've been there. So I just love these people. I love the sport. And I'm glad that I can be here and do what you said. I didn't know that. So thanks.
Congrats, man.
Hey, Dominic, congrats on the victory. Just got a question for you. At the post-fight, you made a little bit of a jab at Keith Peterson, congratulating referee Mark Goddard. Question for you is, in that first round, did any kind of flashback go back to the fight with Henry Cejudo? Do you have any kind of doubts or trepidations that they would stop the fight? And what was going through your mind?
Well, no, I had a conversation with Keith Peterson in the back before that fight. Hey, I'm willing to die in there. Do not stop this early. And when you stop a fight with 1 second left on the clock, and I'm working my way up, I just made sure and talked to Goddard about that and said the same thing. He was looking me in the eyes the whole time. And you know what? I wasn't taking a stab at Keith Peterson. I was giving kudos to Goddard. Do you see how that happens with media? Like, that's always how it happens. It's like, who said I took a stab at Keith Peterson? You did. I didn't. So I'm not mad at you, but I'm saying that's how things get twisted up in this world. I was giving kudos to somebody, and it got twisted into me stabbing at Keith Peterson. That's not true. Me and Keith Peterson spoke one-on-one, eye to eye, and I took responsibility for putting myself in that position. He took responsibility for where his position is in that place. And you know what? Keith Peterson has shown up and done a great job in his fights. I've seen an adjustment. He's let some people go. I mean, I don't know if you've watched his last few fights, but he's let some people go that I was like, yes, please, I wish you would have done that for me. And we're all adjusting in this thing. We're none of us are perfect. I understand that. It pisses me off that happened because, Cejudo retired and I can't smash his face in on a rematch. But if the little dork decides to come back, I'm here.
Dominic, you just mentioned your foot a little bit earlier. How's just like your plantar fasciitis these days? I mean, you didn't have the tape on. Pedro did. They were mentioning it. But just how are the feet these days?
Well, I had to put some insoles in my feet, and anybody who's got plantar fascia tendonitis, it takes time. But if you get some expensive insoles, it really makes a difference. $350 insoles, I put them in every pair of shoes I wear, and over time your feet heal. My feet are completely healed. I mean, I kicked a knee tonight, so my knee's a little sore. But, my foot's a little sore from kicking the knee. But that's normal. I mean, you can kick elbows and your foot's going to be sore. You can kick a head and break nothing's broken. It's just swollen and sore. So the feet are money. Feet feel good.
Oh, that's good to hear. And were you surprised by his takedown defense in this fight, Pedro?
I think with him, I wasn't surprised. He knew what I was going to be trying to mix it up. With that, it's not always about completing the takedown. If you think about it, the takedown attempt set up my striking. And so that allowed me to outstrike him in the end. And it got him kind of freezing a lot, I feel like. So I've said this in commentary, you don't always have to finish these shots. You just got to keep staying active, keep staying on them. And then that pulls the hips back, which opens up uppercuts, hooks, things of that sort. If you don't respect my takedown and pull your hips back, then I'm going to take you down. But if you pull them back, now you've opened up striking. So it's a balance play, and that's what mixed martial arts is. And that's why I've always had weird angles and weird footwork and all this stuff, because we're not fighting like any other sport in the world. If I stay stationary, takedowns are there. If I don't hit angles, kicks are there, knees are there, all this different stuff. So for me, it's just important of being constant everything, constant guessing, constant feints, constant knees, constant kicks, angles, takedowns, boxing, jump knee, everything. It's important to be that, I think.
So with that in mind, were you maybe more surprised that he didn't let you take him down? Because he's a great grappler, great submission artist.
Yeah, no, I mean, Pedro Munoz is an OG. Like, I'm not surprised that he didn't let me take him down. It's a pride thing. The dude's got pride. Nobody wants to be put on their butt. It takes a man to hold another man on his back, is what my wrestling coach said in junior high. And if you watch judo, if you watch jiu-jitsu, anything. I mean, some people are nasty guard players. Pedro Munoz he's got a guard, but he's more of a top jiu-jitsu player, so he doesn't want to be on his back. He did a good job defending the takedowns. Kudos to him, but I'd expected nothing less. The guy's a beast. I mean, people should be talking more about his legacy, I believe, but what do I know?
And did you notice a difference, going from the Apex to, back to a normal show?
Yeah, definitely. Completely different. The fans make this is the best thing I can say. The fans make this sport. It feels so different with fans. Like, it's a completely different sport with fans. Completely different. In the Apex, don't get me wrong, it's great that, think about this, the UFC has kept us working through the entire pandemic. Kudos to Dana White. Kudos to UFC, IMG, WME, Hunter, Sean Shelby. Listen, they're not forcing things on us, if you know what I'm saying. We're all free to do what we need to do so we can keep working. We have all stayed employed through this entire thing. The UFC has gone up almost 50% in viewing. It is the fastest growing sport in the world. They're doing their job. They're not forcing anything on us. They pay us. Like, you want to talk about pay from us? We're all making money. Well, half the nurses in the world are being laid off. It's tragic. Thank you, UFC. I will always have your back for this time. I will always remember what you've done for me and the rest of these fighters. It's pretty incredible if you really break it down and think about it.
And last one for me, Dom. I'm not looking too likely that we'll see any of these matchups, but if you could get one back, would you prefer Cody or Cejudo?
Oh, I definitely prefer to fight Cejudo again. I just that didn't do well with me with the way that I mean, like I said, 1 second on the clock. I needed more time to just get going. I didn't have, I don't want to make excuses. It was in a pandemic. You had no training partner. I took that on short notice. He had a full camp for Aldo. I vied for that. I pushed for that fight. Aldo got shut out of the country because of the pandemic. He was supposed to have that fight. So they were training for 12 weeks, 10 weeks before that fight. I got like 5 weeks. I sparred, I think, 10 times before that fight after shoulder reconstructive surgery. Not an excuse, but I know I can show up better. How I showed up tonight, this version of me is with all the sparring rounds that I need, me training the way I know I can and the way I know I need to, and that's a different fight with him. Don't get me wrong, the guy's an Olympian. He knows how to fight. Still a little dork, though.
Congrats, Dom.
Dominic, you were adamant after the fight to make a point about that we need to stick together and not let them divide us. Can you illuminate on more of your thought on
well,
what you
yeah,
meant by
I mean, in this time, whatever's going on with who's leading this country, there's a group of 12, 15 people making all these decisions for the entire world right now in the United States, especially, and stay at home for Thanksgiving, don't bring your family, like everybody's divided in their opinions. So what I'm trying to say is if you take a bucket of water and you dip it in the ocean and you separate it and you put it on land, that bucket of water is going to disintegrate. It's going to get mosquitoes. It's going to get stagnant. It's going to evaporate into the world. But the second that starts happening, no matter how dirty the water is, no matter how nasty it is, if you pour it back into the ocean, everything goes back to normal. It survives. It's so important that we come together and not separate. Separation is not going to heal us. Coming together, working together, and let's say you have different opinions. Be neutral about it. Nobody needs to be right or wrong is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't need to be judgment. It doesn't need to be right and wrong. It could be, let's be in possibility together instead of you're right and I'm right, or I'm right, Like be in possibility that we both can be right. And now, you could sit on that end of the table. I'll sit on this end of the table, but we're in the house together. Let's all come together. It's so important because that's what we are as humans. We are all one. We're all connected. I can't stress that enough. And to me, that's what will save us all during this pandemic.
And about coming together, when you were walking in, you were talking to one of the coaches of Alpha Male, and which the rivalries, a big one in MMA. What is your relationship with Team Alpha Male nowadays?
Honestly, like I said, I've really changed my speed on things a lot with where I'm at through the injuries, winning the belt, losing the belt, winning the belt, losing the belt. It's like I couldn't be where I'm at without them, challenging me the way they did. I couldn't compete at the level I do without the wars I had with Alpha Male. I faced half their team. I mean, they paid for half my houses. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful for them. So I love those guys. I do. And Emmett, he's a beast. That dude just came after ACL surgery and got a win. I can tell you what he did is monumentally tough. And he beat a guy who's an active fighter, who's young, hungry. Ige's no joke. So respect to Ige, respect to Team Alpha Male for what they're doing. They're still in the game, still going. Look at Emmett. And yeah, nothing but love.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Dominic Cruz, man, nobody does a press conference like Dominic Cruz. Classy all the way, and that stuff with DC was so blown out of proportion. It was just a friend taking a shot at another friend, and I'm disgusted at these media members who buy into this, and I'm going to take a shot at every single one of you because I'm not one of you. I'm not a media guy, and I will never accept the title of media guy because of people like all those morons who ran with what Dominic Cruz said about Daniel Cormier this week in a joking fashion about a friend and made it a stupid headline in the middle of the biggest. You should all be ashamed of yourselves for trying to make an easy headline out of a guy saying something like that, like Dominic did. And I just think that's a disgrace. And anybody who calls themselves journalists and does that, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. I don't care who you are. Come see me. I'll say it to your face. Jeff.
Dominic cannot say it, though. You know, if you're a public figure and you say something, man, you can't bitch at people for quoting it.
It was
but
it was a shot at a friend in a joking way, and everybody took it so seriously and made it the number. I mean, come on, Jeff, you know that. Wow, is this O'Malley already? Oh my God, we got another press conference. Well, Ponzinibbio and Jeff Neal are going to war right now, but we need to hear the Sugar Show. O'Malley by TKO to start the main card.
Check. I can't compete with what Dom just said, by the way.
In Vegas.
Hey, Sean. Another great win for you. I'm wondering how you're feeling about your performance and how you're reflecting on the fight so far.
First round knockout, can't complain. That feels good. Feels real good.
I just saw you and Dom having a couple of words outside. I'm curious what you guys were talking about.
Dominic Cruz is the dude's a living legend, and he's still fighting right now. So, just said congratulations, and that was it.
Is this kind of what you were expecting to happen tonight in this fight? You know, it's like the next step up for you, but you wanted to still show that you can continue starting these guys and continue rising your level above it. Is this what you thought was going to happen, first round knockout?
Yeah, to be honest, anytime I get in the octagon, I feel like it's going to be a first-round knockout because I just feel like anybody I fight has never fought somebody like me. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's just, I think it's true when I stand in there. Paiva's never seen someone like me. He's never felt that speed. So I did see that playing out like that. And I want to thank myself for looking at the clock and seeing how much time was left because some people, Daniel Cormier, my last fight, he's like, "Oh my God, he's looking at the clock!" Like it's like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm gonna look at the clock. If I didn't look at the clock, I wouldn't know how much time I have left. I land a big shot. I don't know how much time I got left. I gotta know if should I empty my tank and try to take this dude out, or should I wait and then have the rest of the fight save my energy? You know, so that kind of bugged me. That I kept bringing that up. Oh, he looked at the clock. Oh, he looked at the clock. It's like, dude's a double champ. It's like, what's your IQ? Your fight IQ? Is that not, you know what I mean? You think LeBron James is going to fucking drive the ball down the court and not look at the clock? It's amateur.
I feel like DC's getting it from everyone this week.
Don't say stupid shit. It's hard, though. That's a hard job. I couldn't do that, his job. I could not sit up there and commentate that many fights and do his job. I would sound like a complete idiot. So yeah.
You're one of these guys who, I think, as soon as you step in the cage and you win your fight, people are already talking about the next one, right? Like, who's going to fight next? Who's going to fight next? For you, is there a name? I know that Adrian Yanez was someone you spoke about, but for you, sitting there right now, is there anyone on your mind?
No, I don't not want to. I fought 3 times last year, 3 times this year. I feel like every day I just have the fight coming up. So I'm just going to enjoy this and try to not book a fight and just enjoy being with my family and my little princess. And, you know, I'm sure I'll fight in March, April. Who will it be? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. As long as the Sugar Show is fighting, I don't really think people care too much who I'm fighting.
First time you're at a press conference this week, the whole thing, does it feel like, I said about raising the level in your fights, does it feel like you're starting to raise your level in the promotion, right? You're starting to become one of the bigger names. I know you already have been, but does this week feel like you're taking that to the next level? Yeah,
you know, the press conference was really cool. I planned on going there and kind of stealing the show, and I think I did that. I'm in the fight business. A lot of these guys are in the fight game. I'm in the fight business, and I just happen to be really good at fighting. So, you know, I'm just enjoying this whole process.
And just to go off of that, obviously you and Cody got into it at the press. I'm wondering if you saw his fight tonight and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I did. You know, Cody's also, you know, a legend in his own right, and I'm not going to sit up here and say anything negative about him. He's probably going to have a rough couple days, couple weeks, whatever it's going to be. Nothing really to say about it.
Thanks, Sean.
Congrats, Sean.
Thank you.
You mentioned the DC thing, and I find that this is sort of a trend with you. Does it almost make you funny the way that people try to nitpick you and like all the little holes they're looking for to sort of point to?
I've always felt like DC wants me to lose. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I just sat down with him the other day, and, you know, it's not like he doesn't like me personally. I just feel like he kind of wants to see me lose. I don't know what it is. If I remind him of a young John Jones. But for some reason, I feel like he wants me to lose, and there's certain things he says when he's commentating. But also, like I said, commentating will be a really hard job, and maybe I'm just taking it personal and being a pussy.
Sure, I get that mean more on like a broader scale, just in general, the MMA fan base, people in the MMA world. It seems like people really try to nitpick anything they can find from you. Is that something you've noticed?
That means I'm doing it right. If everyone just loved me then I probably wouldn't be as big as I am. I think there's only probably one person that everyone loves, and that's Ty Tuivasa. Ty, whatever, you know what I mean?
You got it.
I think he's the only one. How could you not like that guy? But for me, I can see how people don't like, they don't like me, but I guarantee they watched me tonight. I guarantee they did not turn the TV. They didn't get up to go to the bathroom. They probably weren't even eating or drinking. I bet they were locked into that TV when I was fighting.
Well, to piggyback off that, you actually now with this one tonight tied for the second most knockouts in bantamweight history in the UFC. Is that wild to you to already have that?
Yeah, that is pretty crazy because I still got 15, 20 fights left in my career. I would say something around there. That might be a lot, but that is pretty crazy. Well, how many? What am I at, and what's the record?
5, and the record's 7, I believe.
Well, I knocked out Thomas twice, so I'm at 6.
And last one from me. You mentioned the rib injury in the cage, or Rogan did, and you talked about it. What happened, and how bad was it? Like, how close did it really get?
I literally think if he would have taken me down and I tried to get up, I don't know what would have happened. I didn't spar for the last 3 weeks. I was grappling, and the guy had a body lock on he had my back, had a body lock. I went to turn, he squeezed at the same time. Nothing crazy, just grappling, and my rib just. I don't really know exactly what happened, but rib injuries. If you've ever had a rib injury, they're just so annoying, and they take a while. But I let it chill for about a week, just ran and hit mitts, and then tried to grapple again that next week, and couldn't do the simplest grappling. So for the last 3 weeks, I didn't grapple at all. No grappling, didn't even test it, didn't even want it, didn't do any clinch work, didn't do anything. I came into this fight planning on him not being able to touch me and just being confident and trusting the work I put in. So that was really, and I'm proud of myself for having the mindset to be able to come in here and just know that.
Sean, right here. The story coming out of your last fight was you set all these records for like total output in a fight. The first round, as long as it lasted, you seemed much more patient in there to pick your shots. Was that a product of not being able to spar, or did you come in here knowing that you would probably kind of approach this fight a lot slower?
No, the reason I had that high of an output against Chris is because he just walked forward like a punching bag. The dude did not take a step back. He literally walked forward for 14 and a half minutes, and I was bouncing my hands off his face. Paiva didn't. I plan on Paiva pressuring me and coming forward, and I think that's what his game plan was, but it's a lot harder to do against me when you get in there. Like, you can say I'm going to get in there and pressure him, but it was he had trouble doing it. I don't know. I felt every fight's going to be different, and if someone's going to continuously walk forward, I have the gas tank, and I can put the output out to bounce my hands off their face for that long, but I didn't need to tonight.
What were you guys saying to each other at the end? I saw you guys kind of hugging it out.
I just said, you're a tough dude, just keep fighting, but I just, said it was nothing but respect for him, and anybody I fight, I feel the same way. I feel like that with anybody on the UFC roster. Just told him to keep fighting, and he's tough.
And finally, when they raised your hand and they announced that you were the winner, your eyes were closed and you kind of looked like you were soaking it in, and then you opened your eyes, you were looking up. What was going through your mind? Yeah,
I've done that the majority of my fights. I like to just, it's easier to go inwards when you're not taking all this in, and I just, closed my eyes and really was just enjoying that and feeling, hearing Bruce and just really just taking in the moment.
There's Sean right here. Sean, if on Monday they have a number next to your name, what should your fans do with all their unranked champ merchandise?
Well, it actually works out nice because the unranked champ, it's still, I'm 15-0 right now. The jerseys, the shirts, everything says 15, and if I'm ranked 15, it'll all be all right. It'll make sense.
That was smart thinking. Another question. Dana White did an interview and he said, we're taking our time with Sean O'Malley. He's not Hamza Chimaev, was the example he gave. Was that fair, or did you feel like, I think I could be Dana?
Dana's opinion isn't gonna, that's his opinion. I'm not gonna take anybody's opinion personal. So if that's what he thinks, he's the boss. I'm just gonna to fight someone else. I'll fight someone else. If he doesn't, what he does with Chimaev is what he does. I didn't take it wrong at all.
One of the things that, you want more money for those other fights with the ranked guys and the bigger names. How often do you and your management, send that email along like, hey, can we renegotiate?
I learned to not talk about fighter pay or any of that. So,
Congrats.
thank you.
Sean
Appreciate
here
it.
in the back. You mentioned in the post-fight interview that you'd watched a bunch of Canelo fights, and that's what inspired you to sort of finish the way that you did. Could you sort of expand upon that a little bit? Is Canelo somebody who you take inspiration from or look up to in any way?
Kinda. I mean, he's one of the best boxers in the world, probably of all time right now. But really, we were watching Prince Nassim, Roy Jones, Canelo. Just we were watching a bunch of different boxers highlights before the fight. It was something we do every fight day. We watched some of the greatest boxers and kickboxers, MMA strikers. We just watch their highlights and get ready for the fight. But yeah, watching those boxers just unload those combinations up against the ring's pretty cool, and it happened to work like that tonight.
And what's your take on, there's a lot of MMA fighters crossing over into boxing and having some of these money fights. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, boxing's a sweet sport. I don't really follow it closely, but I really enjoy boxing, just boxing sparring and that kind of stuff. So, I know what they did with Floyd and Conor was massive, and I think you have to be that massive of a star to do that. So, I'd like to continue growing my star and, doing something like that down the road.
And last for me, you had a great quote just now that you're in the fight business, not the fight game. What would your advice be to young, aspiring, up-and-coming fighters who want to sort of make the kind of money that you do and have a kind of star power that you have?
Color your hair and get face tattoos. No, I'm just jokes. I think what it comes down to is my performances, really. I don't think it's, everything I do outside the octagon I enjoy doing, so I'm not forcing anything. The YouTube, the vlogs, the podcast, the Twitch streams, the merch, like all that stuff is part of the fight business, what I'm talking about, and it's just stuff I enjoy. So I'm not really forcing it, and I think some people just don't want to do that stuff. So if they tried to, it would look forced and it probably wouldn't be successful. So advice would just, be yourself. I feel like I really am good at just being myself, and I just happens to, I'm good at a lot of things.
Thank you. Great performance.
Thank you.
Sean over here.
Yep.
Megan said you had video games were helping with your striking. How exactly did that come about?
I think I just rationalized that in my head because I play so much video games. So I don't know if that's actually true, but I can see probably hand-eye coordination. Maybe I've been playing video games since I was 3 years old. So I don't know if that's actually science or me just telling my girl like I'm training.
All right. And what is your celebration tonight?
Just gonna go out with the boys, have a good time. Keep it low key. Thanks, guys.
The Sugar Show from Vegas rolls on. He's going to be ranked now. MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 269. We missed the whole fight. Jeff Neal with a split decision over Santiago Ponzinibbio, and it was a hell of a fight. Went back and forth, a lot of punching, a lot of kicking. Both guys beat. Journalism is it starts to make me sick. But back-to-back brilliant performances on the podium from those two guys.
I didn't hear anything you said, but quoting people